Ambassador Kethver stared at his computer screen. The message was short, but it made his blood run cold. The words came from Earth through every communication channel in the galaxy. Every planet, every station, every ship received the same message. To whoever harmed Dr. Sarah Chun of the Terran research vessel Endeavor, Earth has just declared war. You have 72 hours to surrender the people responsible. Kethver's hand shook as he read the message again. Dr. Chun. He remembered that name. She was the human scientist his security forces had arrested 6 days ago on Kepler 442c. It seemed like such a small thing at the time. The human woman had been collecting crystal samples from what the Zilonian Confederation claimed was a restricted mining zone. She said she had proper research permits from the Galactic Science Council. The local security chief, Commander Vextar, said her permits were fake, so they arrested her. Kethver walked to his office window. Outside, he could see the capital city of Zilonia Prime. Millions of his people went about their daily lives. They had no idea that their government might have just started a war with one of the galaxy's youngest species. The door to his office opened. His aide, a nervous young female named Lishra, rushed in with a datapad. "Sir, we have a problem," she said. Her voice was high with panic. "The humans are moving ships. Lots of ships." Kethver took the datapad. The reports made his stomach feel sick. Human military fleets were leaving their bases across 3 different sectors of space. Ships that had been doing peaceful patrol duties were now moving towards Zilonian territory. "How many ships?" he asked. "At least 200 that we can track, sir. But our intelligence says they might have more that we cannot see." 200 ships. The entire Zilonian military had maybe 50 vessels, and most of those were old cargo ships with weapons bolted on. The Confederation had never needed a real military before. They were traders and miners, not warriors. Kethver pressed a button on his desk. "Get me Commander Vextar, now." While he waited, Kethver pulled up the file on Dr. Sarah Chun. She was 34 years old, born on a human colony called New Geneva. She had degrees in xenobiology and crystal formation studies. Her research focused on how different minerals could be used for faster space communication. The file included photos from her arrest. Kethver felt sick looking at them. Dr. Chun had a broken arm. Her face was bruised. There were cuts on her hands. The screen in his office flickered to life. Commander Vextar appeared, looking annoyed. "What do you want, Ambassador?" "I am busy processing the human prisoner." "The human prisoner?" Kethver felt his anger rise. "Commander, that human prisoner has just caused Earth to declare war on us. What exactly did you do to her?" Vextar's expression did not change. "I followed standard procedure. The criminal was caught stealing restricted materials. She resisted arrest. She was questioned according to Confederation law. She has a broken arm. She fell downstairs while trying to escape." Kethver knew this was a lie. Dr. Chun had been beaten during questioning. The medical reports that Lishra had shown him made that clear. But Vextar was from an old military family. He believed that aliens should respect Zilonian authority, no matter what. "Commander, I need you to release Dr. Chun immediately and transport her to the nearest human embassy." "Absolutely not. She has not completed her sentence for theft and trespassing." "What sentence?" "She's been sitting in a cell for 6 days without a trial." "That is how we do things here, Ambassador. Just because these humans cry about their criminal does not mean we should change our laws." The communication ended. Kethver stared at the blank screen for several minutes. Then he called his aide back in. "Lishra, get me everything we know about human military capabilities, and find out how many of our colonies have human populations." As Lishra worked, Kethver read more reports from across the galaxy. 3 Zilonian colonies had already sent messages to Earth, saying they would surrender Dr. Chun's captors if Earth promised not to attack them. The colonies of Vega 7 and Altair 2 had even started arresting their own security forces, hoping to avoid human anger, but the worst news came from the border worlds. Human merchant ships had stopped all trade with Zilonian planets. Human banks had frozen all Confederation accounts. Human transport companies had canceled every contract with Zilonian businesses in just 6 hours. The human economic response had damaged the Confederation more than any military attack could have. Cathvar's computer made a soft sound. A new message had arrived. This one came directly from Admiral Marcus Torres of the United Earth Space Navy. Ambassador Cathvar of the Zilonian Confederation. You have 66 hours to release Dr. Sarah Chun and surrender the individuals responsible for her abuse. Dr. Chun will receive immediate medical treatment. The responsible parties will be transported to Earth for trial under galactic justice protocols. The message continued. If Dr. Chen is not released, Earth will consider the Zilonian Confederation to be a hostile military target. All Confederation worlds, stations, and ships will be subject to immediate military action. The message ended with something that made Cathvar's blood freeze. We have reviewed your military capabilities. This will not be a war. This will be an arrest. Lishra returned with her research. Her face was pale as she handed him the datapad. Sir, the humans have been building military ships for the past 50 years. They call it defense preparation, but their ships are designed for long-range attacks. Each human dreadnought carries more firepower than our entire home fleet. Cathvar read through the military analysis. The humans had been planning for war since they first met other species. Not because they wanted to conquer anyone, but because they had learned from their own history. They knew that peaceful people needed strong defenses to stay peaceful. Sir, Lishra said quietly, there is something else. Dr. Chun is not just any researcher. Her husband is Captain David Torres, son of Admiral Marcus Torres. The admiral commanding the human response is her father-in-law. Cathvar closed his eyes. The Confederation had not just arrested a random human scientist. They had arrested the family member of one of Earth's most powerful military leaders, and they had beaten her. He opened a communication channel to the High Council of the Confederation. It was time to face the truth. The Zilonian Confederation was about to learn what happened when someone hurt a human's family member. The galaxy was watching, and the humans were coming. Fleet Admiral Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the U.S. Retribution. Through the massive viewing windows, he could see the largest human military force ever assembled. 12 dreadnought battleships hung in space like sleeping giants. Around them, 40 heavy cruisers and countless support ships formed a wall of steel and weapons that stretched across the star system. The Zilonian home system lay just ahead. They had 2 hours and 15 minutes left on their deadline. Admiral, said Communications Officer Park, we are receiving surrender transmissions from Zilonian colonies across the sector. 17 worlds have agreed to hand over any security personnel involved in Dr. Chun's detention. Torres nodded without taking his eyes off the tactical display. Green dots showed friendly human ships. Red dots marked Zilonian military vessels. There were not many red dots. What about the main government on Zilonia Prime? No response, sir. Our intelligence suggests they are having internal arguments about how to respond. Torres had expected this. The Zilonians were traders and miners, not warriors. They had never faced a real military threat before. Their government probably could not believe that Earth would actually start a war over one person. They were about to learn differently. Captain Harrison, Torres called to his flag captain. Status of the Chun rescue operation? Special Forces Team Alpha is ready for insertion, sir. They have studied the detention facility layout and identified Dr. Chun's location. Estimated mission time is 47 minutes. Torres allowed himself a small smile. The Zilonians thought they were holding a human prisoner. They had no idea that Dr. Sarah Chun was family to half the human fleet command structure. Not just because she was married to his son David, but because that was how humans worked. When someone hurt one human, they hurt all humans. Sir, Park spoke again. Incoming message from the Galactic Council on Arcturus Station. They want to mediate the crisis. Tell them we appreciate their concern, Torres replied. Also tell them that this is not a crisis. This is a law enforcement operation. The bridge crew exchanged looks. They had all seen the videos that Commander Vex Star's people had sent to Zilonian news networks. The footage showed Dr. Chun being dragged from her research site, thrown into a transport and locked in a cell with untreated injuries. The videos were meant to show that Zilonians were tough on crime. Instead, they had shown the galaxy that Zilonians tortured prisoners. Admiral, said Intelligence Officer Kim, we have confirmation that Dr. Chun is being held in the main security complex on Zilonia Prime. Medical scans show she has a broken left arm, 3 cracked ribs, and multiple bruises. She has been denied medical treatment for 6 days. Torres felt his jaw tighten. His daughter-in-law was a peaceful scientist who had never hurt anyone in her life. She spent her time studying crystals that could make space communication faster and safer for everyone. The idea that someone would beat her for collecting rock samples made him angry in a way that scared him. Time to target? 2 hours, 8 minutes, sir. Signal the fleet. We jump to Zilonia Prime in 1 hour. All ships are to target military installations only. No civilian casualties. No damage to cities or infrastructure. We are not conquerors. We are police. The next hour passed slowly. Torres walked through the corridors of his ship, checking on his crew. These were men and women who had volunteered for military service to protect human colonies and trade routes. Many of them had families on distant worlds. They understood exactly why this mission mattered. In the medical bay, Dr. Rodriguez was preparing treatment rooms for Dr. Chun's rescue. She had studied Zilonian interrogation techniques and knew what injuries to expect. The fact that a fellow scientist had been tortured for doing research made her furious. How bad is it, Doctor? Torres asked. The broken arm is serious but fixable. The ribs will heal. I am more worried about infection from untreated wounds and possible psychological trauma. 6 days of abuse can damage someone's mind as much as their body. Torres thought about his son David, who was serving on a research vessel near the Vega system. David did not know yet that his wife had been hurt. Torres had decided to rescue Sarah first, then tell his son the good news that she was safe. The bridge alarm sounded. Admiral to the bridge, came the announcement. Torres returned to find his crew at battle stations. On the main screen, Zilonia Prime hung like a blue-green jewel against the stars. Jump complete. Sir, reported Navigator Singh. The fleet is in position around Zilonia Prime. We have detected 37 Zilonian military vessels. They are not moving to intercept us. Good. They are being smart. Captain Harrison, launch the rescue mission. Aye, sir. Special Forces Team Alpha is away. Torres watched as 6 small, fast ships detached from the fleet and streaked toward the planet's surface. Each ship was invisible to Zilonian sensors and carried 12 highly trained soldiers. Within an hour, Dr. Chun would be safe aboard a human medical ship. Sir, Park interrupted. We are receiving a transmission from the Zilonian High Council. They want to negotiate. Put them on screen. The image showed 5 Zilonian leaders sitting around a curved table. They looked nervous and afraid. The one in the center, wearing the robes of the High Chancellor, spoke first. Admiral Torres, I am High Chancellor Dexmar. We wish to discuss the current situation and find a peaceful solution. "Aye, Chancellor," Torres replied calmly. "The solution is very simple. Release Dr. Chen immediately and surrender Commander Vextar and his security team for trial under Galactic Justice Protocols. You have 1 hour and 53 minutes. Admiral, surely we can reach some other agreement. Perhaps Earth would accept financial compensation for this unfortunate incident." Torres felt his expression grow cold. "High Chancellor, let me be very clear. Dr. Sarah Chen is not property that can be bought and sold. She is a human citizen under the protection of Earth. The people who hurt her are criminals who will face justice. This is not a negotiation. But Admiral, starting a war over one person seems excessive." "We are not starting a war, High Chancellor. We are ending a crime." The transmission cut off. Torres knew the Zolonians would spend their remaining time arguing among themselves instead of acting. That was fine with him. In less than 2 hours, this would all be over. "Sir," came a report from the Special Forces commander. "We have eyes on Dr. Chen. She is alive and conscious. Beginning extraction now." Torres allowed himself to relax slightly. Soon, his daughter-in-law would be safe. The criminals who hurt her would face trial on Earth, and the galaxy would learn that humans protected their own. No matter what, the rescue ships had just left the planet's surface when the Zolonian government finally sent their response. High Chancellor Dexmar appeared on screen again, looking defeated. "Admiral Torres, the Confederation Council has voted to comply with Earth's demands. Commander Vextar and his security team will be placed under arrest and prepared for transport to Earth." "Thank you, High Chancellor." That was a wise decision. But Torres knew this was about more than just getting justice for Sarah. The galaxy had been watching this crisis. Every species had seen how quickly and powerfully Earth responded when one of their people was hurt. Thought no one would make the mistake of harming a human again. Ambassador Kethver watched from his emergency bunker as human ships appeared in the sky above Zolonia Prime. They came out of hyperspace in perfect formation, like a deadly dance performed by masters. The ships were massive, dark against the afternoon sun, and completely silent as they took positions around the planet. The attack began exactly when the human deadline expired, but it was unlike any attack Kethver had ever heard of in military history. The humans did not fire randomly. They did not bomb cities or destroy infrastructure. Instead, they moved with surgical precision that was both beautiful and terrifying. The first target was the orbital defense platform above the northern continent. A single beam of focused energy struck the platform's weapon systems. The platform did not explode. It simply stopped working. Within seconds, what had been the Confederation's most powerful military asset became a piece of floating metal. "Sir," reported his military aide, "Colonel Brexin, they are hitting every military target simultaneously. Defense satellites, weapon depots, military communication arrays, naval bases. But they are not touching anything else." Kethver watched the tactical display with growing amazement. Red dots that represented military installations were going dark one by one. But the blue dots showing cities, hospitals, schools, and civilian infrastructure remained untouched. "How many casualties?" he asked. "None, sir. The humans are targeting equipment only. They are not killing anyone." This was impossible. No military force in galactic history had ever been so precise. Most species solve problems by destroying everything in their path. The fact that humans could eliminate an entire planetary defense system without killing a single soldier showed a level of military technology that scared Kethver more than any threat. On the main screen, he watched human landing craft descend toward the capital city. The ships were small and fast, designed for precision insertions rather than massive assault. They landed near the central security complex where Dr. Chen was being held. "Sir, We are receiving a transmission from the human ground commander. Put it on screen. A human in military armor appeared on the display. Behind him, Kethver could see more soldiers moving with calm efficiency through the security complex corridors. This is Colonel Rodriguez of Earth Special Forces. We are conducting a prisoner rescue and arrest operation. All Zelonian security personnel will remain in their current positions and offer no resistance. We are not here to harm civilians or occupy your world. We are here for Dr. Sarah Chun and the individuals responsible for her abuse. The transmission switched to show the security complex's main detention area. Kethver watched as human soldiers opened cell doors with advanced equipment that simply made Zelonian locks stop working. In the third cell, they found Dr. Chun. Kethver felt sick watching the woman try to stand. Her left arm hung at an unnatural angle. Her face was swollen and bruised. She moved like someone who had been beaten and left untreated for days. But when she saw the human soldiers, she smiled. "About time you got here," she said in a weak but steady voice. "I was starting to think you forgot about me." One of the soldiers, a medic, began treating her injuries immediately. "Ma'am, Admiral Torres sends his regards. He says your husband is very worried about you. David knows?" "The whole fleet knows, ma'am. We have strict orders to bring you home safe." Kethver turned away from the screen. This was his fault. He had allowed Commander Vextar to treat the human woman like a common criminal instead of recognizing her as a citizen of one of the galaxy's emerging powers. "Sir," Colonel Brexin reported, "the humans have arrested Commander Vextar and his entire security team. They are being loaded onto transport ships. Any resistance?" "None, sir." Vextar tried to claim diplomatic immunity, but the humans said he lost that protection when he committed crimes against a civilian scientist. The main screen showed Commander Vextar being led to a human transport in restraints. The arrogant officer who had beaten Dr. Chun now looked small and frightened. He probably thought he would be tortured the same way he had tortured his prisoner. He was going to learn that humans did things differently. "Attention. People of Zelonia Prime," came a broadcast from the human fleet commander. "This is Admiral Torres of the United Earth Space Navy. We have successfully rescued Dr. Sarah Chun and arrested the individuals responsible for her abuse. Dr. Chun is receiving medical treatment and will make a full recovery." The Admiral's voice was calm and professional, but Kethver could hear the anger underneath. "Let me be clear about what has happened here today. Dr. Chun was conducting legitimate scientific research under proper Galactic Science Council permits. She was arrested illegally, beaten during interrogation, and denied medical care for 6 days. This is not acceptable behavior toward any sentient being, but it is especially not acceptable behavior toward a human citizen." The transmission continued. "Earth does not want war with the Zelonian Confederation. We do not want your territory or your resources. But we will not tolerate the abuse of human citizens anywhere in the galaxy. Today's action demonstrates our capability to protect our people. We hope it also demonstrates our restraint." Kethver understood the message. The humans had just proven they could destroy any world that threatened their citizens. But they had also proven they would only use the minimum force necessary to solve the problem. The individuals arrested today will receive fair trials on Earth under galactic justice protocols. They will have legal representation and the right to appeal any sentences. This is more consideration than they showed Dr. Chun. The broadcast ended with words that made Kethver shiver. To any government listening to this message, humans protect their own. We are peaceful people, but we are not defenseless people. Treat human citizens with respect and dignity, and we will be your friends and trading partners. Harm human citizens and you will face the consequences. Within hours, human ships began leaving Zolonia Prime. They had completed their mission in less than 4 hours without firing a shot at civilian targets or claiming any Zolonian territory. But the damage to Confederation authority was complete. Cathver's communication system filled with messages from Zolonian colonies across the galaxy. World after world was declaring independence from the Confederation government. Some were asking to join the human sphere of influence. Others were forming their own independent governments based on human legal principles. The Zolonian Confederation had ruled through fear and bureaucracy for 3 centuries. In one afternoon, the humans had shown the galaxy that there was a better way to solve problems. Their response had been swift, powerful, and precisely targeted. They had protected their citizen without becoming conquerors. "Sir," Colonel Brexin said quietly, "what do we do now?" Cathver thought about Dr. Chun, sitting in a human medical bay somewhere above the planet, receiving the care that Zolonian authorities had denied her. He thought about Commander Vexstar, who would soon face justice for his crimes. He thought about the 17 colonies that had already surrendered to Earth rather than risk human anger. "We do what we should have done 6 days ago, Colonel. We apologize. Then we start learning how to treat people the way humans do." Outside his window, the last human ships were disappearing into hyperspace. But Cathver knew they would be back if anyone threatened a human citizen again. The galaxy had just learned a new rule: you do not hurt humans. Not if you want to survive. 6 months after what historians were already calling the Chen Incident, the Galactic Council held its most important emergency session in over a century. Representatives from 43 species gathered on Arcturus, stationed to address one question that was changing everything: what to do about humanity. Senator Thrix of the Valderan Empire stood at the center of the great circular chamber. His tentacles writhed with agitation as he addressed the assembled delegates. "Respected colleagues," Thrix began, "we face an unprecedented situation. In response to the detention of one researcher, Earth mobilized 200 military vessels and essentially destroyed the Zolonian Confederation without firing a single shot at civilian targets." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. What the humans had done was tactically brilliant, but it had scared every government in the galaxy. "They moved 14 full battle fleets because one of their people was injured," continued Senator Thrix. "What happens when they lose an entire ship? What happens when one of their colonies is attacked? Will they mobilize their entire military?" Ambassador Yuki Tanaka of Earth sat quietly in the human delegation area. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. But everyone in the chamber knew she represented the species that had just redefined galactic politics. "Furthermore," Senator Thrix said, 17 former Zolonian colonies have now requested protection under human law. 3 species have signed mutual defense treaties with Earth. The Andromedan Trade Federation has adopted human prisoner treatment protocols as their new legal standard. This was true. The aftermath of the Chun Incident had created a cascade of political changes across the galaxy. Worlds that had suffered under corrupt or abusive governments were seeking human protection. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now cooperating under human-mediated peace agreements. Representative Caxfer of the Centauri Republic raised his forearms for attention. The humans have upset the balance of power that has maintained galactic peace for 800 years. Their actions were disproportionate and destabilizing. More murmurs of agreement. The established galactic powers did not like the idea that a young species could project military force so effectively. For centuries, the galaxy had been controlled by a few old civilizations that solved disputes through economic pressure and political maneuvering. Humans solved disputes by rescuing their people and arresting criminals. "I must also point out," added Representative Veltara of the Rigel Confederacy. That human military technology appears to be decades ahead of what their public statements suggested. Their ability to disable an entire planetary defense network without casualties suggests capabilities that we do not fully understand. This was what really scared the other species. Humans had been active in galactic politics for only 50 years. During that time, they had presented themselves as peaceful traders and researchers who just wanted to learn from older civilizations. No. One had realized that while humans were learning, they were also preparing for war. Senator Thrix gestured toward Ambassador Tanaka. Perhaps the human representative would care to explain why her government felt it necessary to threaten military action against a sovereign world over a minor legal dispute. Ambassador Tanaka stood slowly. She was 73 years old and had been Earth's chief diplomat for over 20 years. She had negotiated trade agreements with dozens of species and helped resolve conflicts. Across 3 sectors of space, she was also a grandmother whose own children served on human research vessels in distant parts of the galaxy. Honored delegates, she began. I appreciate your concerns, but I must correct several misunderstandings about recent events. The chamber fell silent. When humans spoke in official settings, the galaxy listened. First, Dr. Sarah Chen was not involved in a minor legal dispute. She was conducting legitimate research under permits issued by this very Council's Science Authority. She was arrested without charges, beaten during interrogation, and denied medical care for 6 days. This is not a legal dispute. This is criminal assault. Ambassador Tanaka's voice remained calm, but there was steel underneath the diplomacy. Second, Earth's response was proportionate to the threat. Dr. Chun could have died from her untreated injuries. The individuals responsible had shown they would not respond to diplomatic pressure. Military intervention was necessary to save a human life. But surely, interrupted Representative Caxfer, the scale of your response was excessive. 200 ships for one person? Representative Caxver, Ambassador Tanaka replied. Let me ask you a question. How many ships would the Centauri Republic send to rescue one of your citizens? That depends on the circumstances. No, it does not. It depends on whether you value your citizens' lives. Earth's response was exactly what it needed to be. Overwhelming enough to prevent loss of life. Precise enough to avoid unnecessary casualties. And clear enough to prevent future incidents. The chamber was completely silent now. Ambassador Tanaka looked around at the assembled delegates. But I want to address the real concern behind this emergency session. You are afraid of humanity. You are afraid that we will use military force to expand our territory or impose our will on other species. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. This was exactly what they feared. Your fears are understandable but misplaced. Earth has no interest in conquest or empire. We demonstrated this by withdrawing our forces immediately after completing our mission. We claimed no Zelonian territory. We imposed no occupation government. We asked for nothing except the return of our citizen and justice for those who harmed her. Ambassador Tanaka walked to the center of the chamber, where holographic displays showed maps of the galaxy. Look at the results of our actions. The Chen protocols have become the new galactic standard for prisoner treatment. 3 species that have been at war for 2 centuries are now negotiating peace under human mediation. 17 worlds have voluntarily joined the human commonwealth because they prefer our laws to their previous governments. She touched controls on the holographic display. The map showed trade routes, communication networks, and peaceful scientific cooperation spreading outward from human space. We accomplished all of this without claiming a single world through conquest, without imposing our government on anyone, without forcing any species to adopt our ways. Representative Veltara spoke up. But your military capabilities remain a threat to galactic stability. Only to those who threaten human citizens, Ambassador Tanaka replied. Let me be very clear about something, honored delegates. Every human in the galaxy is under Earth's protection. Every human on every world, every human on every ship, every human conducting research or trade or diplomacy in the farthest reaches of space. The ambassador's voice grew stronger. We are not conquerors. We are not an empire. But we are absolutely, unequivocally protective of our people. Attack a human citizen, and you attack Earth. Harm a human researcher, and you face human justice. Threaten human civilians, and you will meet human soldiers. The silence in the chamber was deafening. If you consider protecting our citizens to be a threat to galactic stability, Ambassador Tanaka concluded, then perhaps you should examine why your own people are seeking human citizenship for the protection it provides. She returned to her seat without another word. Around the chamber, delegates looked at each other nervously. The uncomfortable truth was that human citizenship had indeed become valuable across the galaxy. People from dozens of worlds were applying for human protection because they knew Earth would actually defend them. Senator Thrix tried to regain control of the debate. Surely, we can find some way to limit human military responses to more traditional diplomatic channels. Senator, came a new voice from the gallery. Might I suggest a different approach? Everyone turned to see Ambassador Kethver of the reformed Zilonian Republic. His presence was a shock. No one had expected a Zilonian representative to attend this session. Go ahead. Ambassador Kethvar, said the council president. Instead of trying to limit human capabilities, perhaps we should be asking how we can adopt human principles. The Chun incident taught my people that strength without justice is just bullying. The humans showed us a better way. Kethver gestured toward Ambassador Tanaka. These people do not want to rule us. They want to protect everyone. Maybe instead of fearing them, we should be learning from them. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was already clear. The galaxy had tested humanity's promise to protect their own. Humanity had kept that promise, thought no one would make the mistake of doubting it again. 1 year after the Chen incident, the galaxy looked completely different. Ambassador Kethver stood in Dr. Sarah Chun's laboratory on Luna Station, watching the human scientist work with crystalline formations that could change interstellar communication forever. These samples, Dr. Chen explained, adjusting her microscope, can amplify quantum signals by 300%. Messages that used to take weeks to cross the galaxy could arrive in just days. Kethver's secondary eyes blinked in amazement. The woman who had been beaten in a Zilonian detention cell was now on the verge of revolutionizing galactic technology. Her research would benefit every species in known space. Dr. Chun, he said carefully, I must ask you something. Do you ever think about what happened on Kepler 442c? She looked up from her work, considering the question. Her left arm, once broken during interrogation, moved normally now. The physical scars had healed. Kethver wondered about the emotional ones. I think about it every day, she said finally. Not because I am angry or afraid, but because it changed everything. Not just for me, but for billions of people across the galaxy. This was true. The human protection protocols that emerged from the Chun incident had become the new standard for treatment of all sentient beings. 47 species had adopted the protocols as their official law. The Galactic Council had made them a requirement for membership. Your species' response was unexpected, Kethver admitted. Dr. Chun smiled. The expression was warm and friendly, but Kethver had learned that human smiles could mean many different things. Ambassador, let me explain something about humans that most of the galaxy is still learning. We are not naturally aggressive. We do not want to conquer anyone or control anyone else's governments. She gestured toward the window, where Earth hung blue and beautiful in space. But we are absolutely protective of our family. And every human everywhere is family. Kethver understood this now. It had taken him months of working with human diplomats and researchers to grasp how human society actually functioned. They did not just protect citizens of Earth. They protected anyone who chose to become part of human civilization. The results had been remarkable. The human Commonwealth now included 63 worlds. Not conquered territories or puppet governments, but voluntary members who preferred human law and protection to their previous systems. Each world kept its own culture and customs, but all followed the same basic principles: no torture, no slavery, fair trials, protection of civilians, and justice for everyone regardless of species. Dr. Chun, Kethver said, what you experienced was wrong. But the response, 200 ships for one person, seems excessive? Dr. Chun finished. That is what everyone says. But think about it differently, Ambassador. What message would Earth have sent if they had done nothing? What would have happened to the next human researcher who was arrested somewhere? Kethver knew the answer. If Earth had negotiated or paid ransom or accepted diplomatic apologies, every corrupt government in the galaxy would have learned that humans could be bullied. Human scientists, traders, and diplomats would have become targets. Instead, Earth had sent a different message. Humans protect their own, no matter the cost. The fleet response was not about revenge, Dr. Chun continued. It was about preventing future incidents. And it worked. This was also true. In the year since the Chun incident, not a single human citizen had been arrested or harmed by alien authorities. Several governments had actually upgraded their security protocols, specifically to ensure they could protect human visitors. Kethver's communication device made a soft sound. An urgent message had arrived from the reformed Zalonian Republic's capital. Forgive me. Dr. Chun, I must take this. The message was from President Lishra, his former aide who had helped expose Commander Vexstar's crimes. Ambassador, came her voice, we have excellent news. The Galactic Science Council has approved our proposal for a joint research station with the Human Commonwealth. We will be working together on quantum communication development. Kethver felt a wave of pride and relief. The reformed Zalonian Republic had spent the past year rebuilding itself based on human legal principles. It had been difficult work, changing centuries of authoritarian traditions. But the results spoke for themselves. Crime rates had dropped by 60%. Trade had increased by 400%. 3 former enemy species were now requesting diplomatic relations with the reformed republic. Dr. Chun, Kethver said after ending the communication, my people would like to formally apologize for what happened to you. We would also like to invite you to lead the joint research project on our new station. I would be honored, Ambassador. But I have one condition. Of course. What is it? Commander Vexstar is scheduled to complete his rehabilitation program in 6 months. I want him assigned to my security detail. Kethver stared at her. I do not understand. He was the one who ordered your beating. Exactly. He needs to learn what real security work looks like. Protecting scientists instead of hurting them. And I need to see that he has actually changed. This was perhaps the most human thing Kethver had ever heard. Instead of seeking revenge, Dr. Chun wanted to help her former tormentor become a better person. The idea was both strange and wonderful. Are you certain this is wise? Ambassador, humans believe that people can change if given the chance. Vexstar was taught that aliens were enemies to be controlled. I want to show him that we can be colleagues and friends instead. Kethver thought about the changes in his own life over the past year. He had gone from being a minor diplomat in a corrupt government to becoming an ambassador in a free republic. He had learned that there were better ways to solve problems than force and fear. If he could change, perhaps anyone could. Dr. Chun, there is something I wondered about. Your research could make you incredibly wealthy. The quantum communication patents alone would be worth billions of credits. Why do you choose to share your discoveries freely? Because science belongs to everyone, she replied simply. My discoveries will help ships communicate across the galaxy, will let families stay in touch across vast distances, will make trade and diplomacy easier for every species. Why would I want to limit that? This attitude was typical of humans, Kethver had learned. They shared technology freely, helped solve other species' problems without asking for payment, and seemed genuinely interested in making life better for everyone. It was terrifying for authoritarian governments and wonderful for everyone else. As Kethver prepared to leave the laboratory, he thought about the message that had been displayed in human embassies across the galaxy for the past year. No one fights alone. The galaxy had tested that promise when Commander Vextar beat Dr. Chun in a detention cell. Earth's response had been swift, overwhelming, and precisely targeted. They had rescued their citizen, arrested the criminals, and withdrawn without claiming any territory or demanding any tribute. But the real victory was not military. It was moral. In proving they would protect their people, humans had inspired other species to demand better treatment from their own governments. In showing that strength could be used for justice instead of conquest, they had created a new model for galactic civilization. Dr. Chen, Kethver said as he reached the laboratory door. Thank you. For what, Ambassador? For being brave enough to collect crystal samples in the wrong place at the wrong time. For surviving long enough for your people to rescue you. For showing us that there is a better way to live. Dr. Chun smiled again, and this time Kethver understood exactly what the expression meant. Ambassador, you do not need to thank me for that. But you are welcome anyway. As Kethver walked through the corridors of Luna Station, he passed humans and aliens working together on dozens of research projects. The station buzzed with activity, cooperation, and hope for the future. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. You do not hurt humans if you want to survive. But it had also learned a wonderful truth. You do not need to fear humans if you choose to be just.